Sunset Song, which is the new film by Terence Davis, adapted from the much-loved novel by Lewis Crasset Gibbon. Davis first attempted to get this off the ground in the wake of The House of Mirth, which he made in 2000, and this was at the time that the UK Film Council was merrily funding things like Sex, Lies of the Potato Men, and he couldn't get money for it. Then his career was brilliantly sort of re-kick-started with Of Time in the City, which, as I think you know, was my favourite film of that year, and it's just such a wonderful piece of work. Since then, he's done an adaptation of Terence Rattigan's The Deep Blue Sea. And now we finally have, 15 years after he first tried to get it off the ground, this adaptation of the story, which takes place in northeast Scotland in the run-up to the Great War. It's basically the story of Chris, the central character, played by Agnes Dean, who is from a rural crofting farming family. And there are so many themes in it that kind of resonate with you, with what Terence Davis, with the themes of Terence Davis's movies. So, for example, there's Peter Mullen, who plays the father, who is, an abusive father. He's torn between, on the one hand, being, apparently God-fearing devout, on the other hand, violent and sexual urges which he cannot contain and which he doesn't know how to deal with, and he beats his family and worse. We have the yearning female voice, the kind of, in this case, an internal narration, internal monologue narration, I think rather well done by Agnes Dean, and the script itself done by Terence Davis rather brilliantly. We have the spectre of religion, which is at once omnipresent and also unforgiving, particularly as the war itself draws close, and it is announced from the pulpit that anyone who is not willing to sign up and fight is a coward.
What does it mean, Rob?
They send white feathers to the cowards. I've already had mine.
They're all government men, ready to die for the king any day of the week.
Oh, and twice on Sundays.
They say Parliament's to pass a Conscription Act.
That means if we don't volunteer, they'll make us go anyway.
Well, it'll be a bit of a jaunt. Huh?
Will you both be taken?
Aye.
But you've been excused before. They don't take folk who farm their own land.
I'm to report to Aberdeen.
It's only for assessment. I'm going too. We'll go together. Don't worry, lass. They'll have to carry us to the front.
There's so much to like in this, particularly if, like me, you're a huge fan of Terence Davis and you know how much of a passion project this has been for him. Firstly, and I think one of the most important things to point out is the cinematography, which is a fantastic mix of, on the one hand, digital for the interiors and 65mm for the exteriors, which is, Michael McDonough is the cinematographer, and they've managed to create a world in which, because so much of the novel, so much of the story is about the land, and about the land enduring, and about one's relationship with the land. And so you have to have a form of cinema that can give you that sense of ravishment, that sense of cruelty, but also of beauty that is from, that's from the environment. And certainly in the way that they've used 65mm here to do that, you get that.
What difference does 65mm make?
It's a larger negative format, and therefore it gives you a kind of richness. And I mean, bear in mind that even as you say this, there will be cinematographers, professionals who know more than I do, sucking their teeth, saying that actually there is. I mean, there are some people who now say that there is nothing that you could do with celluloid that you can't now do with digital. However, I would say on the evidence of Sunset Song, it proves the format to be wonderful and beautiful. I mean, it gives you such a rich image. I've seen the film a few times now, actually, and there are scenes of the camera gliding through fields of gold and green up into the sky of blue and white and grey, which is just pure cinema. For the interiors, I believe that they've been using digital, and some of the interior composition, this is very, very Terence Davis. There are scenes of, families huddled in partly lit rooms which have the composition of Vermeer. I mean, you start thinking of, painters rather than other filmmakers as the frame of reference. I mean, obviously, as far as the external stuff is concerned, the immediate frame of reference, you'd start thinking of Terrence Malick, and there is a touch of Terrence Malick about it. But actually, it's the comparison between the interior and the exterior world. Secondly, I think the performances are pretty solid. Agnes Dean, I think, is really shaping up as a very, very interesting actress after the work that she did in Electricity. I have to say, I wasn't aware of her as she's a model. I didn't know anything about that until I saw Electricity. So all I know is what I've seen of her on screen, and I have to say I think she does this very, very well. And there is a firm brace of performances there, including Peter Mullen as the father, who is a very, very captivating performer who kind of dominates the screen when he's on it. There's also, as the title suggests, and as of course coming from the original source, the fantastic use of song, moving house to the sound of Wayfaring Stranger, the singing of Flowers of the Forest at the wedding, a few snatched lines of The Lass That Made the Bed to Me as at a moment of childbirth. It's a film which is steeped in song, and it's a film which actually on several occasions, despite the fact that it's not just plastered with music, it's a film which is scared neither of silence nor of song, which is a fairly brave thing to be. And at times it almost looks like it's going to turn into a musical. It's interesting that Davis himself cited Seven Brides for Seven Brothers as one of the sort of touchstones that he was thinking of in terms of the palette of the film. I mean, it's very, very difficult going near a novel about which people have such strong feelings. I think that he has approached it with a real sense of genuine passion. I know for a fact it's something that he's passionate about, because I remember being at the Shetland Film Festival. I think one of the first times when he was talking about, he's been talking about this for years. Anyone who knows Terence Davis's work knows he's been talking about this for a very long time, and I think that the funding has taken them to New Zealand and to Luxembourg and to Scotland, also weather and to get the shots that they need. And it's something which has been put together with an awful lot of love and an awful lot of attention. And one of the stories of the novel is that the land endures. And I think the same is true of Terence Davis. I mean, he is one of our preeminent auteurs, and he already has another film in the can, incidentally. So he seems to be on a creative roll. But just for that sense of the cinematicness, the love of song, the understanding of cinema as being a form of mournful song, which is something which goes all the way back through Terence Davis's work, through the Terence Davis trilogy, through Distant Voices, Still Lives, through Long Day Closes, all those films that are thought of as the autobiographical sump from which everything else draws. It's interesting in the case of Sunset Song to look at it and see how much he's going back to those themes, although he says that he has put autobiography behind him. I liked it very much, and there are moments in it that are just breathtaking, and it's in my top films of the year.